have talked to me at all, you may have heard or understood that I like history, and especially church history. I love church history. It fascinates me. I love to hear about the beginning of Christianity and how the very first church started. Now, if you look on the front of your bulletin, you may have seen this kind of unusual looking little symbol, the P and the X together. And that's a symbol that was actually used by the Emperor Constantine. Now, if you know who Constantine is, you can zone out for a couple of minutes. The rest of you pay attention. I'll explain who this guy was. Now, Constantine was also known as Constantine the Great, and he was a Roman emperor who ruled between 306 and 337 AD. Now, he passed administrative, financial, social, and military improvements that really helped shape the Roman Empire. He did a lot for the Roman Empire, but he also did something else. He was known as Constantine the Great, but he was also known as the first Christian emperor. He was the one who brought together the first Council of Nicaea, and they were the ones who created the Nicene Creed that we recited together not too long ago. And what's really interesting about the Nicene Creed is that it is the only creed that is accepted across all major Christian faiths, which is different than the Apostles' Creed that you're probably far more familiar with, which is not accepted across all major Christian faiths. That symbol on the bulletin was used by Constantine, like I mentioned, but he came up with the idea in kind of a unique way. And in fact, according to Constantine, he never came up with it at all. According to him, he received the vision of the symbol in a dream from God. Now, this symbol is called the Chi Rho, or Chrisma, and it comes from putting the first two letters of the Greek word for Christos, or Christ, together. The X is for Chi, and the P is for Rho, in case you're interested. Constantine placed this symbol on the shields of his soldiers around the empire, and Constantine himself actually wore it. And in fact, that picture on the front is from one of Constantine's buildings that he had constructed, and it was placed right over the doorway so that everybody would see it as they come in. Now, I bring this up because during Constantine's reign, it was easy to tell who soldiers were when they served in Constantine's army. This symbol marked his empire, his soldiers, the breadth of his power. This also indicated, according to Constantine, that they were under rule of an even higher power, the power of Jesus Christ. Now, I'll tell you the truth. I don't know if Constantine got this vision from God. That's between him and God. And I don't know if he was ordained by God to rule the Roman Empire. Again, that's between him and God. But that's at least what Constantine thought. And considering how powerful Constantine became, I'm sure others thought the very same way. They understood that power. In fact, it is said that in some places, when Constantine's army would show up, if you've ever seen those movies where they have their symbol held high on a flag, people would actually see that and surrender because they knew the power that Constantine's empire had. They did not want to fight them. They knew they were going to lose. It was a sign of power that others feared, and for good reason. Now let's think about it another way. Let's think about product brands. We don't even need words anymore to recognize a product or know what its offer doing. If we see a kindly elderly man up on a big sign as we're driving down the road, we know we can pull into KFC for some chicken, right? If we see a big yellow M, we know we can get a Big Mac there, right? At the local McDonald's. If you have a smartphone, more likely than not, is probably an Apple one. Not everybody has Apple, some have Androids. But if you have an Apple phone, what's on the back of that phone? A little symbol of an apple. It doesn't even have words on it, and you know it's an apple. Maybe you have an Apple Watch or other devices. Sometimes you don't even need a picture or a word. If you have a brown delivery truck in your driveway, it's FedEx. You don't even need. Thank you. I'm so. See, that's exactly what I wanted you guys to do. You corrected me, right? And I didn't even say a name or anything, did you? You're like, that's UPS. Thank you. You've helped prove my point. That's exactly what it is. Branding is a powerful tool used by companies to help you instantly recognize them and their products. Some of those products are so ingrained that we recognize them or associate them with products we use. What's this? Thank you. You again proved my point. This product is a facial tissue. But Kimberly-Clark, the parent company, creates the brand Kleenex. We automatically call this a Kleenex, don't we? I do too. I mean, nobody says facial tissue. Can you please hand me a facial tissue? No. We say, give me a Kleenex, right? That is what we do. We understand branding. This is something that's accepted. It's ingrained in our head. And a mark or a symbol can carry a lot of weight. Now, we Christians, we like to wear symbols, don't we? We always have symbols of who we are. We wear crosses, or maybe the little ichthus fish. You may not know that's what it's called, but ichthus is actually the proper term for that little symbol. Maybe a bracelet that says WWJD, what would Jesus do? That was big when I was growing up. Or t-shirts. I have a lot of Christian ties. I like those. But the thing is, do they really mean anything? Because are we restricting who can wear those? I mean, after all, does anybody have to come to me and get a note that said, this person is Christian enough to wear this shirt? No, we don't. Anybody can wear them, right? Anybody can wear those. They become fashion statements. We have celebrities that'll wear a cross, and they say more cuss words than I've ever heard. They make up them, and I don't even understand them. And that's not even that big a deal. But the idea is that's what people, they see that symbol, and they assume something about that person, right? That they have a certain standard in their lives. How many of you have had or seen somebody with a bumper sticker, Jesus is my co-pilot, as that person is cutting you off? I don't want any pointing of fingers here, but some of you may have done that, right? Jesus is my co-pilot. And then you're saying words that you shouldn't be saying about that person too. Again, no finger pointing here. That includes you, Laura. Because she may have been in the car with me on occasion. Anyways, the point being that those symbols don't really dictate our actions, do they? I mean, it's not like we wear signs and it automatically changes our personality or the direction or our attitude. Our scripture today talks about being branded or marked. Jesus says in the scripture, I give you a new commandment, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. say that we need to wear something special, that we need to drive the right kind of car. I actually saw a video, and I saw it released. I did not watch it. And it said, "What would Jesus drive?" I was really tempted, but I thought, wow, that's reaching. But the thing is, it's really not about what we wear or drive or anything like that. It's how we act towards other people. That marks us. Today, Jesus tells us that love is also a sign, a mark of a healthy spiritual family. Love one another. Jesus told us this to his disciples, but he tells it to us too. And according to Jesus, love is not just something that's contained in a greeting card, or we say on Mother's Day. Love is a brand. In fact, it is the brand that should be on us of being disciples of Jesus Christ. So we have to ask ourselves this question: how or have I been showing this kind of love to others? Look at Jesus' love for us. Look at the way he gave of himself. It calls us to be motivated to love more. I have, again, I love the history of the church, and especially looking at the Jewish faith, which of course is the basis for our own faith. I mean, after all, Jesus was Jewish. Big surprise, I know. But he was not Christian. He was Jewish. And in fact, a common thing in the Jewish faith was right before someone died, they would gather their family together and tell them one last thing that they want them to know, to remember. That's what Jesus was doing here to his disciples. He knew his end was coming soon. He was spending time with his disciples and sharing that one thing that they needed to know. He was basically telling them, if you forget everything else I told you, remember this. Remember this. So the night before he died, Jesus gathers his disciples together and says, a new command I give you, love one another. That's it. If you know nothing else, love one another. In fact, it's almost like Jesus gave them the 11th commandment. Think about this. He was looking at his disciples and saying, look at all of us gathered here. Now think about all those other people out there. You know what I want you to do? Love them. Love them. And there was no asterisk that said, love all of them except for, well, that guy or that lady. Don't love them. You get a pass on that. He never said that. He never said that. And in fact, the word love that Jesus used is actually a unique word or translation of the word love. It's actually the Greek word agape. Agape love. It's a special kind of love. A love that expects nothing in return. A love that doesn't keep score. A love that just gives and gives and gives and never expects anything back. A generous, sacrificial love. And he said, I want you to show everybody that kind of love. And let's be honest, even within the church, and sometimes especially in the church, we're really good about finding faults in each other, aren't we? I mean, let's be honest. Let's be completely honest. We're really good. And I'm not saying this church. I'm saying the other churches. But we're good about finding faults, right? And have you ever had that one lady, and I remember this at a previous church, that one lady, it always seemed too happy. And I actually kind of judged her. Like, how can you be that happy? And now as I look back on it, I'm jealous. I wish I could be that happy. And then, of course, I meet somebody like Fran, who is like that. Who's just always happy. Like, how can you be that happy? That just seems wrong. But it's true. We find fault even in something positive with somebody else. We find fault. We see their problems. But instead we should be loving. We should be saying, thank you for being you. Show me how to be like that. It's kind of depressing sometimes at our lack of love for our fellow man. It's kind of saddening that churches split up over things. We've talked about this before. You know, you hear about these churches that split up over things like, well, they took the pews out and now we have chairs. And I can't properly worship in a chair. Y'all are laughing, but believe me, a church is broken up over just that. And it is kind of funny. I mean, let's be honest, it is kind of funny, but it's also sad, isn't it? But then you hear about these other situations, and maybe we've kind of felt them in our own hearts. And if somebody else were to hear it, they'd think, well, that's just silly. Why are you fighting over that? Does that make a big difference? But in ourselves, we think it, because we're flawed. Just so you all know, we're human and we're flawed. We're not perfect. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't strive for that. You know, we look at Jesus' love, and we think, if you're cynical at all, you think, what's in it for him, right? That level of sacrifice, what's in it for him? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, you're right, it doesn't. That's why it's agape love. That is why it's perfect love. A love that wants nothing in return. Today, Jesus gives us so much more. He shares with us everything that he had. He gives of himself completely. It's sad that we can't share that same kind of love. And believe me, I'm not saying y'all need to work on it. I'm saying we all need to work on that. Every one of us. Anybody who says that they've achieved it, God love them, they're a little delusional. Because we're human. We were literally created flawed. And which it makes it all the more amazing that Jesus showed us that level of love. It was never like, I'm going to love them this much, and eventually they're going to be perfect on this earth, and it's going to be wonderful. Nope, it's not, is it? It really isn't. But that is the picture of Jesus' love. He gave completely of himself. He died on the cross knowing we were still going to screw up. That agape love. And shouldn't we strive to at least attain some of that? We're quick to judge people on ethnicity, their spiritual background. Well, they're not Christian, so they don't deserve love. No. I refer back to Jesus, who said, love everyone. Love one another. He did not put a little asterisk on that. We have to love everyone. And if you say, but what about love everyone? There's no way around this. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't all need correction. Obviously, we do. We're still making mistakes. Start out with love, though. Love can can make such a difference. I want to leave you with this. A little boy once walked all the way across town to attend Sunday school at another church. And this lady asked him, she said, why do you walk all the way here and not go to that church just like right across from your house? And he said, because they love here. You know, I talk to people about Radnor, and usually the first question is, where's Radnor? But the other thing is, they ask, so how's it going? I said, this is a church that loves people. I like that. Yeah, it's a small congregation, but there's love here. This is a place that people can grow. Now, do we have work to do? Sure. Any church that doesn't is stagnant and dying. Do we know that we need to do some work? We're working on learning to work together, aren't we? We need to show people that we're marked, and marked in a good way. If people see that we love each other, that we love everyone, they'll notice. They'll want to be a part of that. So how are we going to show people we're marked? I don't care if you wear a Motley Crue t-shirt. Motley Crue is a band from when I grew up. Just giving a side note in case anybody doesn't know. But if you're sharing Jesus' love, people are going to notice that. They're going to see that more than they're going to see a t-shirt, a cross, or anything else that you might wear. Show love. Love one another. Amen.